The House is Full of Yogis by Will Hodgkinson. Read by Thomas Judd. Chapter 1. The First Party. "I don't believe it," said Mum. She was scratching at two cables of ancient wire sticking out of a dusty hole in the brickwork next to the peeling green paint of the front door after the Volvo had wobbled over the rubble-strewn drive and come to a shaky halt. "They've even taken the bloody doorbell." A year before our father had his Damascene moment, we moved into our first big home. 99 Queen's Road was a semi-detached four-bedroom house on the edge of Richmond, Surrey, which our parents bought for £30,000 from an older couple called the Philpotts. There was no central heating in 99 Queen's Road, nor was there a kitchen to speak of. Just a baby-belling cooker, a rattling old fridge, and a twin-tub washing machine stranded in the centre of the room like a maiden aunt who had turned up 2 decades earlier and never left. There was a milk hatch cut into the outside wall that had come free of its hinges. The Philpotts, who called their 42-year-old son's room the nursery and who claimed to speak ancient Greek on Sundays, had ripped out pretty much everything but the bricks. The carpets had gone. There were no light bulbs. If you opened cupboards, you found only empty spaces, suggesting the Philpotts had even filched the shelves. "Come on, Sturch," said my father, Nev, using a nickname with a derivation long forgotten. It might have had something to do with Lurch, the monstrously ugly butler from the Addams family. "Let's go and explore upstairs." In our old house, my brother Tom and I shared a bedroom, which was less than ideal because of our very different approaches to being children. One Christmas Eve, I came upstairs after kissing our parents goodnight, fully intending to obey Nev's gentle command to go to sleep and wait until the morning to see what Santa Claus had brought, knowing I would wake up at 3 and feel around in the dark for the happy weight of a stocking at the end of my bed. Tom was in there already, constructing an elaborate arrangement of strings and levers. When I asked him what he was doing, he told me not to question things I wouldn't understand. All was revealed around midnight. When Nev walked in, stockings laden with toys, a hammer hit the light switch, pulling a network of strings running up the wall and activating a camera next to Tom's bed. Nev's hair turned into a wild frizz at the shock of it. Satisfied with having disproven the existence of Santa Claus once and for all, Tom dozed off until 8 o'clock. He was 9 years old. That was 4 years ago. "Out of the way, scum," said Tom, pushing me aside as he hunched up the stairs of the new house. He looked at the bedroom facing the street, lay down on the single bed the removal men had put in there half an hour earlier, pulled out of his pocket a copy of George Orwell's 1984, and said without looking up, "Oh, do get out of my room." There is a photograph in our family album of Tom, an insouciant 4-year-old, kicking back in a rusty toy car, while I, only 2 and already so outraged at life's unfairness that my nappy is exploding out of my shorts, try in vain to push him along. It says it all, really. Nev and I went to explore the room at the back of the house, which Nev suggested could be my bedroom. "Look at this place," I said, clomping across squeaking, uneven floorboards. "It's got a window and everything." I tried to open it, but it just made a juddering sound. "And wow, a cupboard with double doors." At first they appeared to be jammed, but after giving them a good yank, they came open and flew off their hinges. Oh well, now the room is even bigger. I looked out of the window. The garden was long and thin, with a scrappy strip of lawn, a collapsing shed on the left, and a vegetable patch along the right. There was a hole in the ground near the end of the garden, which was surrounded by rotting apples. The Philpotts had taken the apple tree with them. There was also a late middle-aged woman with a helmet of frosted hair, bent over and hurriedly collecting something into a plastic bag. "Isn't that Mrs. Philpott?" I said. Nev came over and peered through the dirty glass. "I believe it is. What on earth is she doing here?" Mum rushed out of the back door. Mrs. Philpott stood up and, arching her eyebrows, said, "I'm collecting jasmine." Mum took root before her, hands on hips. "You do realise that we own this house now?" Mrs. Philpott stared at the younger woman and tilted her head forward, smiled slightly as if dealing with a simpleton, and explained, "It costs £2 at the garden centre." Mum smiled back. "That may be so, but now you have sold this house to us, so you're going to have to find somewhere else to snip it." Mrs. Philpott looked at our mother imperiously. She marched down the garden with her cuttings of jasmine, sensible shoes clipping along the cracked paving stones of the garden path, and out of our lives forever.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?